Welcome, truth seekers and philosophical adventurers. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Diogenes of Sinope, the ancient Greek philosopher who challenged societal norms and lived life on his own terms. We'll explore his radical ideas, trace their influence through history, and even draw some surprising parallels with a certain fictional pirate from contemporary Japan. So grab your lanterns and let's search for an honest man. Our story begins in ancient Greece, where a man named Diogenes decided to turn the concept of civilized living on its head. Born in Sinope around 412 BCE, Diogenes would become one of the most provocative and influential philosophers of his time. Diogenes was the founder of Cynicism, a philosophy that advocated for living a life of virtue in agreement with nature. But what set Diogenes apart was his commitment to living his philosophy to the extreme. He famously lived in a large ceramic jar in the marketplace of Athens, owning nothing more than a cloak, a staff, and a bowl. One of the most iconic stories about Diogenes tells of him wandering through the streets of Athens in broad daylight, carrying a lit lantern. When asked what he was doing, he replied, "I'm looking for an honest man." This act symbolized his critique of the hypocrisy and pretension he saw in society. Fast forward to our modern world, and you might wonder, what relevance does a man who lived in a jar 2,400 years ago have for us today? As it turns out, quite a lot. In our era of consumerism and information overload, Diogenes' call for simplicity and authenticity resonates more than ever. Movements like minimalism and voluntary simplicity echo Diogenes' rejection of unnecessary possessions and societal expectations. His fearless questioning of authority and social norms continues to inspire activists, free thinkers, whistleblowers, and general free spirits. Diogenes' influence extends far beyond his own time, but let's rewind now a moment. Not all the way back to him himself, but to some of the other masters his spirit ended up inspiring from throughout history. In the 18th century, Jean-Jacques Rousseau echoed Diogenes' critique of civilization, arguing for a return to a more natural state of living. His famous quote, "Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains," reflects the cynic's distrust of societal constraints. In the 19th century, Henry David Thoreau took inspiration from Diogenes in his experiment of simple living at Walden Pond. Thoreau's call to simplify could well have been uttered by Diogenes himself. And we can't forget, of course, to mention the hippie counterculture of the 60s and 70s, shirking the repressed corporate pseudo-religious lifestyle of their parents, and gathering in flocks, growing their hair out long like outlaws, altering their minds, and dancing half naked, covered in mud, and sharing peanut butter sandwiches with strangers. Today, we see echoes of Diogenes in various philosophical and lifestyle movements, from existentialism to minimalism. His teachings continue to challenge us to question our assumptions and live more authentically. In a previous episode, we discussed how Taoism's teachings can be found in modern Japanese storytelling and animation, but a host of other esoteric philosophical and spiritual viewpoints are also evident in anime as well, including Stoicism and Cynicism. One Piece's Monkey D. Luffy, the captain of the infamous Straw Hat Pirates, is the specific character we're going to focus on as the anime ambassador for Diogenes. Though there are plenty more, Luffy is the one who seems to stand out the most. And to be honest, we have a certain personal appreciation for Luffy and One Piece and its creator Ichiro Oda, but more on this in a later video. For now, let's compare Luffy of the Straw Hat Pirates with Diogenes of Sinope. At the heart of Luffy's character lies a beautiful paradox that echoes the teachings of Diogenes. Luffy's relentless pursuit of the One Piece, the ultimate treasure in his world, is not driven by a desire for material wealth or power. Instead, his quest is fueled by the simple desire to achieve the feat and claim the title of King of the Pirates. This mirrors Diogenes' rejection of material possessions and societal status, focusing instead on the pursuit of virtue and self-sufficiency. The irony and beautiful dichotomy in Luffy's journey is that while he seeks the world's greatest treasure, he remains largely indifferent to material wealth and especially status. This attitude aligns closely with Diogenes' famous encounters with Alexander the Great, where the philosopher, living in a barrel, asked the powerful king to step aside as he was blocking the sun. Both Luffy and Diogenes demonstrate that true wealth lies not in external possessions, but in the freedom to pursue one's dreams unencumbered by societal expectations. Luffy's character and his adventures serve as a powerful allegory for spiritual journeying as a whole, much like the philosophical quests undertaken by Diogenes and so many other free thinkers and impoverished dream chasers. The One Piece, in this context, can be seen as analogous to the philosopher's stone of alchemical tradition, not a literal object, but a metaphor for inner transformation and enlightenment. Just as the philosopher's stone is said to be within man, Luffy's true strength comes from within his unwavering determination, his ability to inspire others, and his unique perspective on freedom and justice. This internal focus mirrors Diogenes' emphasis on self-knowledge and living in accordance with nature and one's true will, rather than societal conventions. Luffy and Diogenes both shirk material possessions and societal norms that don't serve their goals and beliefs. Luffy, like Diogenes, often finds himself in a state of material poverty. He begs for food, demands help from others, and lives a life largely free from the trappings of wealth and status. Yet, like Diogenes, Luffy's apparent lack of material resources is counterbalanced by his richness of spirit and clarity of purpose. The world seems to always send him exactly what he needs. Diogenes was known for his provocative behavior, often begging or demanding things from others to make philosophical points about human nature and societal conventions. Similarly, Luffy's seemingly selfish or demanding behavior often serves a greater purpose, challenging unjust authority, inspiring his crew, or pursuing his ultimate goal of freedom. Both figures possess a strong sense of justice that transcends conventional morality. Luffy's unwavering commitment to his friends and his willingness to challenge oppressive systems echo Diogenes' critiques of societal corruption and hypocrisy. Their actions, while sometimes appearing crude or selfish on the surface, are driven by a deep-seated desire for truth and justice. One of Luffy's most defining characteristics is his childlike behavior and innocence. Despite facing numerous challenges and adversities, Luffy maintains a sense of wonder, playfulness, and straightforward thinking that is reminiscent of a child. This quality, far from being a weakness, is in fact a source of great strength and wisdom. This childlike spirit is a trait shared by many revered spiritual and philosophical figures throughout history. The Buddha often spoke of the importance of maintaining a beginner's mind, free from preconceptions and open to new experiences. Jesus Christ famously said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven," emphasizing the spiritual value of childlike innocence and trust. Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, praised the virtues of simplicity and spontaneity, qualities often associated with children and the captain of the straw hats. Diogenes himself, despite his often crude behavior, embodied a kind of childlike directness in his interactions with others. His famous encounters with Alexander the Great, where he simply asked the powerful ruler to move out of his sunlight, demonstrate a disregard for social conventions that is both childlike in its simplicity and profound in its philosophical implications. Plus, like we said, he lived in a barrel and a ceramic pot, so yeah. This childlike quality finds a powerful representation in the Fool card of the tarot deck. The Fool is often depicted as a young man at the beginning of a journey, stepping off a cliff with a carefree attitude, accompanied by a small dog. This card represents new beginnings, innocence, and the potential for growth and adventure. In older versions of the image, He was a jester juggling a ball, much like many of the Joker cards in modern playing card decks look today. In fact, the Joker and the Fool have a direct secret connection we will discuss in another episode, so make sure you subscribe. But the secret we shall share with you for now, dear listeners, is this. In ancient decks, there existed a lesser-known version of the Fool card called the Miseria. In stark contrast to the jubilant Fool, the Miseria depicts a man in rags, chained to a heavy stone, and begging for scraps of food. This image seems to align more closely with the outward appearance of Diogenes, who lived in poverty and often begged for his sustenance. However, the key to understanding both Luffy and Diogenes lies in recognizing that these two seemingly opposite images, the carefree Fool and the chained Miseria, are in fact two sides of the same coin. It's all about perspective. While Luffy may outwardly embody the joyful, adventurous spirit of the Fool, and Diogenes might appear more like the Miseria in his physical circumstances, both characters possess an inner freedom that transcends their external conditions. Luffy, despite often finding himself in dire straits or facing seemingly insurmountable odds, maintains the spirit of the Fool optimistic, adventurous, and unburdened by the weight of the world. Diogenes, though living in material poverty, exhibited a similar freedom of spirit, unencumbered by societal expectations or material desires. This duality teaches us a profound lesson. True freedom and wisdom are not determined by external circumstances, but by one's internal state of mind. Both Luffy and Diogenes, in their own ways, embody this truth. They remind us that whether we see ourselves as the joyful Fool or the burdened Miseria often depends more on our perspective than our circumstances. The parallels between Monkey D. Luffy and Diogenes of Sinope reveal a fascinating intersection of ancient philosophy and modern popular culture. Through Luffy's character, we see a contemporary embodiment of cynic and stoic philosophy, a rejection of material excess, a focus on personal freedom, and a commitment to living authentically in the face of societal pressures. As Luffy sails the Grand Line in search of the One Piece, he unknowingly follows in the footsteps of Diogenes, who wandered the streets of ancient Greece with his lantern, searching for an honest man. Both journeys, separated by millennia, speak to the timeless human quest for meaning, authenticity, and true freedom. In Luffy, we find not just a pirate captain, but a philosophical figure for our times, one who challenges us to reconsider our notions of wealth, power, and what it truly means to be free. Like Diogenes, Luffy invites us to step out of the shadows of conventional thinking and bask in the sunlight of authentic living. In terms of simplicity, characters like Luffy remind us that happiness doesn't come from accumulating possessions, but from pursuing our passions and valuing ourselves and our genuine connections to the world around us. As we conclude our journey through the life and philosophy of Diogenes, from ancient Greece to the universe of anime, we're reminded of the timeless relevance of his teachings. Whether through the words of Diogenes himself, the actions of later philosophers, or the adventures of our favourite Straw Hat pirate, the cynic's wisdom continues to offer guidance for living an authentic, purposeful life. In our complex, often confusing world, perhaps we could all benefit from channeling a bit of Diogenes' spirit in our daily lives. So the next time you're watching Luffy set sail for a new adventure, remember you're tapping into ancient wisdom that has the power to transform not just your day, but your entire approach to life. This wisdom is passed down time and time again, from real person, from history to fictional character, and back again, and then again, and again. I think you get my point. Until next time, may you find the courage to live simply, speak honestly, and always question the world around you. And who knows, you might just find that honest person Diogenes was looking for in yourself.
A.S.M.R.